You asked for it. Here it is. It's a podcast from Apathetic Enthusiasm.
Coming to you live from one of the over 30% of sci-fi stories that include decoys of some shape or form. Decoys, clones, doubles, mirror images, alternate versions, you name it, they're all here on Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast.
Hello, everybody. I am Travis.
Hello, everybody, and I am Brandon. We are cloning each other today in celebration of this week's episode.
Yeah. We're
Say the same thing I said.
I didn't listen. I was looking at chat. I was looking at chat, specifically Matt in the chat, who doesn't recognize our interdimensional RSS music because he only tunes in for Apathetic Enthusiasm. But this is Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast. So happy that you're joining us. Welcome back for yet another episode. We are still in that early stage of season 5. So excited for these new episodes. Never taking a week off. Never looking back. And yeah, we have plenty of things to discuss about that last episode, Multiplicity. But yeah, we I don't know. We'll get on all of that in the main thing. But for now, I gotta start and say, hey Brandon, how the heck are you?
Hey, I was wondering what was wrong with this episode so far is, and it was because you didn't start with the "Hey Brandon, how you doing?"
How you doing?
And I didn't immediately respond with a non sequitur story that has nothing to do with this week's episode, where I just talk about how I bought a bunch of like soundproofing for my room. Well, actually, I didn't. I got it for Father's Day, right? And it's all these squares. And my wife bought me 3M tape, the double-sided 3M tape. And so I started by putting only 2 squares in each one of the corners of each of these squares and put it on the wall. And they are starting to fall, right? And so I'm like, okay, I learned my lesson. I'm going to put 4 squares on each square. They're still falling. And I have anxiety every time I come into this room because I'm like, which square is going to be falling off now? You know, if I showed you my room, there would actually be like thumbtacks in some of these squares now because I want them not to fall down. I'm probably going to get some spray adhesive. I don't care about the paint in this place. I just want my sound to sound good.
Yeah,
how are you doing?
Important. I'm great. And if you, dear listener, want to see the elaborate soundproofing happening in Brandon's recording room, then make sure you're tuning in Monday nights over at twitch.tv/apathetic enthusiasm, or catch the show later, the video version over at youtube.com/apathetic enthusiasm, where you can see our faces, you can see our facial expressions, you can see what random pop culture collectibles we have in our backgrounds. You can see when Brandon's checking his phone and not actually listening to what's happening in the podcast. All of those things are possible with the video versions. Like and subscribe over on those platforms. You can also follow us all over the internet on Twitter at Rick and Morty Pod, Facebook.com/Rick and Morty Podcast, Rick and Morty Podcast on Instagram, and Rick and Morty Podcast at gmail.com is how you send us an email about all of your Rick and Morty questions. We are all up in that reddit.com or Rick and Morty .reddit.com. If you go there and you see those pinned episode discussions, thank a Brandon. Thank the Brandon in your life. And do you get internet points for those? Do you get karma for those, Brandon?
I do.
You do?
You know, hugs and award me like silver and I send them each a message and I say the message to each one of them and I say thank you so much for giving me an award. I appreciate you.
That's very kind. That's very kind.
That's what I say to him.
You know where we're not getting awards? At our subreddit, rickandmortypodcast.reddit.com. You can also go to our website for this podcast. Every episode available at rickandmortypod.com. Finally, there are a couple of ways you can support the show. You can go to our TeePublic page, get a t-shirt, apatheticenthusiasm.com/shop is the best way to get to that link. You can also support the show directly at patreon.com/apathetic enthusiasm. We have brand new exclusive Patreon content. We just recorded our first episode commentary where Brandon and I watch an episode of Rick and Morty together, and we are going to post the recording of that non-behind-the-scenes commentary exclusively for our Patreon listeners this week. So go check it out. And yeah, that's about it. That's how you can follow us and be involved with the show.
That is right. That is how you do all of that. Did you talk about our Patreon?
Yeah, I did.
Just kidding.
This episode not brought to you by Cox Communications and their substandard internet.
Just kidding. No, I heard you talking about that. Yeah, that commentary was fun that we did. We did 2 episodes, and then your microphone crapped out for one of them.
Yeah, it did.
So if you're listening to this podcast right now, just know that I edited it, so it doesn't sound like I have any internet problems. But the second commentary episode of that Patreon exclusive will sound bad.
Yeah, it's going to sound awful. And you've reminded me that I should probably check my levels as we do this podcast just to make sure. Well, I guess you'll be able to tell me. You'll be able to tell me if you can't hear me anymore. And then
I'll tell you.
Just like I ignore when you completely cut out on the internet. Anyway, we have lots and lots of stuff to get to in this episode, so let us not delay any further. It's time to jump right in to semi-pertinent news.
It's a semi-pertinent news jam, bum bum. The semi-pertinent news jam, bum bum. The semi-pertinent news jam, bum bum. Coming to your ears. Bum dum 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 dum.
I kind of wish you just did an hour like of semi-pertinent news song, like just a real good jazz riff for 58 minutes, and then we just close out the podcast. We're like, all right, that's our show. Thanks. We should do that as a bonus pod sometime.
That was it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I told Matt about this. I'm back in Los Angeles and I went to visit my parents. After being away for 20 years, I was hanging out with my dad on Father's Day in the garage, and I looked up, and there's like a storage rack in the garage, and up there I saw my amp. I was in high school, my bass guitar amplifier, and it had like a Kyle from South Park, a sticker of him still on it. And I said, Dad, is that my amp? He's like, yeah, you want it? Please take it. And I took it, and then I unpacked my acoustic bass, and I plugged it in, and I was jamming out to bass the other day. And so I'm like, take me back. The first instrument I ever learned. And it's good to be back. So I've got bass in my heart right now.
There you go. Well,
semi-pertinent news.
Semi-pertinent bass in our hearts. The real big story that we have to talk about this week involves some webcomics and a brand new series coming to Apple. I'm assuming Apple's streaming service, Apple TV Plus. But this was announced. I first saw it actually on Nathan Pyle's Instagram, because I follow him for his Strange Planet web comics, and then he has a ton of other great comics that he posts on his personal account. But the reason this is semi-pertinent to Rick and Morty is because Dan Harmon is actually the one teaming up with Nathan Pyle to bring this web series to life in a serialized format, an animated series coming to streaming at a unknown date as of now. But this is exciting. I mean, obviously this webcomic has taken off. It's everywhere now. There's merch. There's all sorts of things. Do you like the Strange Planet comics, Brandon?
I mean, the ones that I've seen, yes. I haven't sought them out, and I don't frequent them, but I've seen them, and I always those comics were reminiscent of I feel like an older comic an older web comic from maybe the mid 2010s or so. But so I thought it was just kind of like a rehash of all those comics. I didn't realize it was a newer web comic. Um, and I think you sent me the other day. You talked about not just the Strange Planet series, but you sent, I think this was Nathan Pyle
Yeah,
too,
it is.
with
It totally is.
how to navigate a party, the social anxiety stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, this is 100% how it works.
Yeah, yeah. I read through that entire thing. It talks about strategies for like going to see the guest of honor and getting out of there as quickly as possible and things. And it completely made me think about social interactions with you that we have been in together in the past. So yeah, I wanted to make sure that you knew that he was basically stealing your material and making webcomics out of it. But for those Strange Planet faithful that love that webcomic and are still only so on Dan Harmon, we did get a response from Dan Harmon on his Instagram where he talked about Strange Planet coming out and that he is basically like putting the fans at ease that he has no intention of making this show like about him. He is only affiliated with it because he is trying to help Nathan Pyle like speak his like truth, I guess, like, you know, like he wants him to be as successful as possible, so he's not trying to make this a Dan Harmon show. This probably will not feel like a Dan Harmon show. This is just Dan using his knowledge and experience in creating television to help this project be as successful as possible. So yeah, don't expect like, you know, burping Ricks or anything like that in this. I think it'll have a very different tone overall. But it is cool that Dan is helping out to make it possible. And if
100% absolutely. 100% absolutely.
100% absolutely.
My internet is so slow. I'm sorry, Travis. It's such a huge delay from when I say something to you and when you actually respond. So just interrupt me in the middle of what I'm saying.
I always do,
that'll
Brandon.
work
I always
out.
do. So why don't you go ahead and hit us with your Reddit post of the week?
Oh, thank you so much for having me here on the Reddit post of the week. This Reddit post of the week is by Cypher_69XX. It has over 17,000 upvotes, and it's titled "I've Waited Enough," and it is a picture of Jessica from episode 1 of season 5, where she talks about time without a purpose is a prison. And this is one of the new memes going on out there in the world of Rick and Morty. It's a picture of her. It says time without a purpose is a prison. That's at the bottom. But at the top of this one, it says me waiting for the second episode of season 5. Time without a purpose is a prison. And that is your Reddit post of the week. There's a report on it. I didn't see what the report on it was, but it doesn't matter. I know again, this is the new meme hotness out there. Also, Nimbus, when I get a new episode of Rick and Morty, and it's like delicious, another.
Delicious. All right. Well, thank you for being our resident Reddit expert and bringing us that wonderful post, Brandon. And now this is the part where you queue up. This is where you queue up a topic for me.
Oh, that's right. No, I was going to tee up the topic that you are known for, perhaps even beyond this entire podcast. It's the Dan Harmon Social Media Minute.
Dan Harmon Social Media Minute. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Here it is. Here's the minute. Honestly, I kind of wanted to just read Dan Harmon's amazing caption where he talks about Nathan Pyle and the partnership that he has. Go check out Dan Harmon's Instagram account to read that in its entirety. It's fantastic. But instead, what we're going to talk about is the SteelSeries gaming controller. So this is Brandon's going to leave. This is a post.
Keep going.
This is a post that Dan Harmon made the day after. I believe it was the day after season 5, episode 1 came out with Mr. Nimbus, and the caption of this says, "Okay, so that's where I got it." And it's a two-parter. The first is a picture of the front of the gaming controller, but if you flip it around to the back, you can see that it is written on the back a Nimbus Plus. Nimbus Plus is, I guess, the version name of the controller. So some sort of SteelSeries Nimbus Plus gaming controller. I'm assuming this is for. Oh, that's Nathan Pyle. Yeah, this looks like it's probably for an Xbox. I would assume it's for an Xbox. But
No,
yeah.
the SteelSeries. I think that's just like a PC controller
Oh, maybe
for like so you can play like Minecraft on the PC.
yeah, maybe he uses that with his iPad or something to play the new Oregon Trail game for Apple Arcade. I don't know, or maybe he plays it on his PC. I don't know. I don't know, but. Yeah, but so there it is. The mystery solved. That is where the Nimbus name was born, and you heard it here first.
You heard it here first. Among the other things,
unless
heard
you follow Dan
first.
Harmon, in which case you saw it on his Instagram first. Anyway, follow Dan Harmon on Instagram. He needs friends.
There's one more thing before we move on. Something I think is really, really cool. Just a little bit of an announcement for next week's Semi-Pertinent News episode is called. I mean, we know what it's called already, but it doesn't matter. We are going to have a recurring, well, not recurring in the sense that he's going to come on again. Just for briefly, we're going to talk to Jacob Hanchar. His Digital Dream Labs is in charge of the Butter Robot, so he's going to come on just a little bit next week.
Yeah,
we're gonna have him on to give us a brief Butterbot
update. Tease for you Unity. Come back and get your Butterbot updates exclusively on this podcast. So we'll see how things are going with the Butterbot and check in quickly to see how things are going. So that'll be a special part of Semi-Perts next week. Do not miss it. If you have a news story that you
do not miss it,
that you hear that you think we should cover on the show, make sure you're sending it to any of those social links that we mentioned earlier. But for now, that is it for Semi-Pertinent News. It is now time to unpack an episode unlike many other episodes. It's time for the main thing.
It's a main thing, main thing, it's a main thing.
You crushed it, Brandon. Crushed it. Yes, this is the main thing where we get to talk about another episode of Rick and Morty. In this case, season 5, episode 2, Multiplicity. Air date 6/27/2021. Written by Albro Lundy. Directed by Lucas Gray.
Yeah, that's right.
Ooh.
Yes, that's right.
Ooh. Also guest stars Keith David, Tom Kenny, and Rob Schrab.
Chops.
Yeah.
Rob Schrab, who seems to be taking over the interdimensional cable duties. For Rick and Morty.
That Pop-Tart box full of ideas is really it's really gonna pay off for him.
Our Broh-nopsis for this week. Who's even real, bruh? Are you real? Are you real, bruh?
Bruh.
Who, bruh? Our synopsis for the episode is as follows. Which I'm just taking a kind of a quote from the episode. They are no longer Ricks and Mortys and Beths and Jerrys or also Summers.
I love that life.
That's our synopsis.
Yeah. So, needless to
What
say,
what are, what are,
yeah.
uh,
Okay. This is
go ahead.
okay. Here we go. So, yeah. This episode definitely unlike many of the episodes that we've seen before. Obviously, we're gonna be talking spoilers and things like that. So if you have not seen the episode, we're gonna talk about it. You've been warned. But yeah. So this is. Obviously, the title is a riff on the classic 1996 film Multiplicity, starring the Mr. Mom, Batman, Birdman, Vulture Man himself, Michael Keaton. Any other Michael Keaton roles you wanted to cram into that description,
um. Well, no, I got when I was writing that for the Reddit, I thought, okay, Mr. Mom, okay, yeah, and then Batman, and then Birdman, and I was like, he was a different bird character. He was a vulture in the Spider-Man films. He
Right?
had a lot of flying characters under his belt. In I gotta commend Michael Keaton for his his flying, typecasting.
Yeah, yeah. Typecast as flyers. That's Michael Keaton. Anyway, none of that really had anything to do with the episode. Yeah. So this episode, Brandon, when I was watching it, watched it live when it aired Sunday night, and maybe it was my own fault, my own set of expectations, but watching the cold open and then going through really the first, I don't know, act before the next ad break, I kept waiting for the story to kick in. I kept waiting for, okay, like, here's a few gags, and then this is what the story's going to be about. And it took a while for me to realize, like, oh, all of these duplicates, all of these copies, this is the story. This is what we get. What were your, like, sort of initial takes as you started to kind of understand that this was not going to be like any other Rick and Morty episode?
Well, up until the first break, I I took it as, okay, or is this episode just going to be them killing each other in increasingly violent ways for 25 minutes? That was my first thought. Then when it was leading into the break, they started figuring out, they started explaining what was happening in the who the squid people were. That I was like, okay, all right, it's gonna where's this gonna go from here? And so thankfully it changed, right? But you sent me a message pretty much at the start, and I think it was probably after Jerry mentioned something about stakes, where you're like, what are the stakes?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Which that was the big thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think the line is Rick, like, saying, like, increasing the stakes or something, and then Jerry says, I don't see any stakes, right before some squid people come and melt the car and then shoot it a couple extra times just for good measure. But yeah, like, it was a weird sensation for me watching the episode initially and feeling like there should be something at risk, something like I should be worried about something happening, only to kind of find out that that's really not where the writers were trying to go with it. They really just wanted to explore this idea of, if you had all these duplicate versions of the Smith family, of Rick and the Smiths, then, how would they go after each other? How might duplicates producing duplicates end up causing certain situations? How would they respond to each other? How would they interact? How would those duplicates get worse and worse over time? And so that really ended up being sort of just an exploration about that idea, more so than like a linear story with an A plot, B plot. Rick even says, like, no, we're not gonna We're not going to scramble into another B plot scenario when Jerry suggests that they split up to go hunt squid people, because the episode was
Thank
really
you.
the episode was really hard to follow initially, and you really kind of had to just reserve yourself and say, you know what, this is what it is. I'm just gonna enjoy it. But I feel like I did enjoy it more the second time I watched it because I knew that we weren't dealing with those stakes, and I could just appreciate all of the little vignettes and the different dupes for what they were.
Now we've talked about this, and what we've talked about just watching. I think going into season 4, we tried to watch the episode, then immediately talk about the episode, and I found then, and again, I think we talked about it in previous podcast episodes, that is never really good because it doesn't fully allow us to appreciate the episode. It's the same thing when I was going through my film classes to for cinema studies. Their recommendation was watch the movie once to enjoy it, to just enjoy it, appreciate it, then go back in and watch it again for your notes, and then watch it again. And so last night, as an example, I, because so creating the because I'm also creating the Reddit post, I'm trying to pay attention enough to the comments and stuff like that to build up a little bit of the discussions. And what that does is it takes me out of the episode itself, and I'm not really fully paying attention. Uh, which I don't want to do. I want to be able to just like hang out, laugh at it, and then go back and later. But what that is it there's a lot of shit you don't catch the first time around, and then you go back in on viewings and be like, okay, I appreciate this more. Even like Sex Dragon, Claw and Hoarder, I've learned to appreciate it more. But that night, I was like, this is probably the worst episode that I've seen of this show.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that anytime like I've watched the show multiple times, I feel like I get a better appreciation for it. This one, I was trying to take notes while I was watching it the first time, and I sort of skipped over that like just watch it to enjoy it step, and so I think that really hampered my appreciation for the episode initially as well. But watching it again today, I definitely did enjoy it a lot more. But let's kind of dig into some of the aspects from the episode, some of the things that I don't know stood out. There were some common themes. We sort of one of the things that we saw asked a lot on the internet was like who was the real Smith family? Like, was it only duplicates? Was there ever an appearance by the real C-137 version of Rick and the Smiths? I think there definitely was, but I don't think it came until the end of the episode.
Yeah, at 100%, there was a real Rick and Morty in that episode. You see my notes here, Travis. I picked it apart. Or here's the evidence. We're going to go evidence by evidence into the episode. One, at the start, early on in the episode, Rick says to the family when they're packing up from their like little summer vacation that they created a decoy for terrestrial adventures, which, as we know, means taking place on or around Earth. And I say on or around Earth because the devil's advocate is gonna be like, well, I saw some of those squid spaceships outside of Earth, but technically they're in Earth's orbit, in the immediate orbit, just like many of our satellites, and therefore it's still terrestrial. But at any rate, and then the Rick and Morty and Space Beth at the end, they make the quip about is a long road trip space adventure, meaning that they were in space the entire time, not a terrestrial adventure. Piece of evidence number 2, Travis. Here's a piece of evidence number 2. and this is what I want to harp on, and I think it's gonna lead into kind of other conversations. Is that Space Beth is there? Then they make a Space Beth joke on in the episode, uh, and a couple they reference it a couple times, and actually I think that's one of the central. If there are any stakes, that is the emotion right there is Beth being still mad, resentful about the whole clone stuff. But Space Beth is this episode's The Constant, which, as you know, is a Lost reference to
Yes.
a season 4 episode The Constant.
I think it was season
Um,
3, and I only know that because I've been rewatching that show with my kid. So yeah, Desmond being the constant in that one. But they also talk about like, hey, maybe Space Beth should, you know, show up more often, and she says something to the effect of, "Let's not push it." So I don't think we're gonna see Space Beth all of the time, but I think this was a good way to early on in season 5, not long removed from when we actually were introduced to Space Beth, to understand that this isn't going to be like a one-off character. This isn't going to be something that we're only going to see one time. But this is somebody that does exist in the universe that we are going to see more than once, but not all the time. So, all right, here's a little bit of Space Beth. Now go back to your enjoyment of everything else.
that's right. That's right. That's right. So to me, it's clear that this is the canonical family as far as who our Rick and Morty are for the series, right?
Yeah.
I've seen people kind of still doubt that, but to me that's what that means. But we, you know, I want to go. The show notes are here in kind of mix matchy order.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
But
so is
you know,
this episode, so it's okay.
They make Rick makes a joke about whatever the theme of this episode is towards the end when it's Muppet Rick, and Muppet Beth, and they're in their costumes. Um, and earlier in the episode, Jerry makes a comment like, "Still wondering about Mister. You need to hunt me, man," or whatever his name is.
Hunt me.
And just asking questions. And they say, "Jerry, can't you see we moved on to higher stakes?" And he says, "Well, I don't see any stakes at all." So I want to ask you, Travis, pushing this in your lane, do you think that there were stakes in this episode?
I honestly don't. I have to side with Jerry on this one. I think the fact that they introduced the idea of decoys within this episode, and also managed to, over the course of 22 minutes, destroy all of the decoys on Earth, except for maybe Glockenspiel Jerry, who had his own little journey through history. Yeah, like I think that there were not high stakes. It's very similar to like what do you got? The Tales from the Citadel episode, right? It was an opportunity to explore an idea that doesn't really play into the core story arc of the rest of the series, but it still allows them to do so. I know we've said the Tales from the Citadel is one of our favorite episodes because of how they were able to explore different versions of our favorite characters, and obviously the spin, the twist that they did with Evil Morty at the end is great. But I guess if they had done something like that in this episode, I would have enjoyed it a little bit more. But this really just felt like, let's take a premise, let's take this idea of duplicates, creating duplicates and how they would interact, and then just really flesh it out into 22 minutes.
Yeah, the different, I think. So I said that people were like, "Oh, it's like a purge episode," and I said it was more akin to Tales from the Citadel. Rick and Morty are not part of the story. The story is happening without them entirely, right?
Yeah.
Uh, if the episode had started with Rick and Morty and the family with Space Death saying like, "Oh, there's some decoys, right, getting killed," and then both Beths ask, "Decoys? What?" And then it starts going into then the cold open happens, or sorry, that is the cold open, and then the episode starts, and then it's the Mr. Hunt Me guy, and all that stuff happens. Then there's a clear differentiation there, similar to at the start of Tales from the Citadel, where Rick and Morty go on their own little adventure to Atlantis, and then all of a sudden it goes to the Rick Lantis mix up, right?
Yeah.
Tales from the Citadel, because because everything is happening without the canon C-137 Rick and Morty. The,
So we're gonna take a quick break.
The thing that I see in
Let's time out.
Okay.
Let's just call it what it is. I've written it down. It's about 36 minutes into our recording. Brandon's gonna reset his router, guys. We're gonna figure this out.
So much delay. Oh shoot! I wasn't ready for it. Just kidding. So all this talk about stakes. There are different type of stakes, right? There's you could of course get into like danger and all that type of crap, right? But there's emotional stakes. And what's interesting about this episode is there aren't any emotional stakes, but there is emotional development still happening. There's character development happening here. I put it here in the show notes, and again, going back and forth, I wrote it as externalizing the internal through the actions of others. In this case, the others being the decoys, where Rick and the family are telling us, the audience, about what's going on internal to those characters without primary Rick and Morty and that family
Yeah.
going through that emotional journey, right? So Rick saying, "I get hard protecting my family." The Smiths together, the Smiths and Rick, when they're in the beach and they're talking about their their bucket list. Some are talking about peeing in the ocean. That being on our bucket list, and they're all at peace together as a family, and they're okay with dying because they're dying together, right? And then of course, Muppet Rick in the costume confronting Beth after she's been an asshole to him in various iterations, saying, I'm sorry. I'm also sorry about the clone thing. I love you.
Yeah.
Topping it off with right before they all get killed at the very end. I'm changed. I'm changed. I love you guys.
I love you guys. Yeah. It is really interesting, and that Muppet Rick talks about how he may be a duplicate, he may be a decoy, but the Rick that made the decoy that made him, or whatever, like there's still a part of Rick in there, right? So even if he's not really Rick, he still there's still something in him that is Rick. So those feelings we could assume are genuine, and just different versions of Ricks and Mortys and Beths and Jerrys and also Summers, that are just all experiencing this together, right? And experiencing different aspects of the personality. So yeah, I think it's really cool how they were able to create that development for the characters and then throw it all away by just killing them all and bringing back our original Rick and Morty.
But I guess my point is it's kind of thrown away, but it gives us insight to those characters. We know that Rick, because of Muppet Rick's actions and words, we know that there's a part of him that regrets doing the whole clone Beth thing.
Yeah.
There's a part of him that wants to protect his family based off of what a different version of Rick has says, because he is a clone of a clone of a clone. He's a copy of copy. Just like Multiplicity, the hit movie from 1996 with Michael Keaton.
Yes. Hence the namesake. Lots of bits, lots of Lots of
So many bits.
one-liners, lots of little vignettes, so many to cover. What were some of your favorite bits from this episode?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Where do we even start?
Usually
I
in the section in the notes called favorite bits.
favorite bits. The Mr. always wants to be hunted
Hunt me,
guy.
hunt me. Don't hunt him to completion.
I've been saying, just like walking through my office, hunt me, just whispering it to myself all day.
On
I
that note, I do have somebody that I work with who was like, "How about that first episode?" And I was like, "How about that second episode? There was another episode on last night." He's like, "What?" And so then I just kept saying decoy around him because I knew he didn't get it.
What I love is that hunt me guy circles back around to the end of the story for that twist. You should have hunted me. Somebody hunt me. But they give Jerry shit at the beginning about like asking about like, why was he in a cryopod? And like, oh, this isn't important right now. And yet at the very end, the Rick who loves his family and repents also wonders about him. Like, did we tee you up?
Yeah.
I have so many questions.
Right. Yeah. No, that's fantastic. I also loved that Rick made a Highlander reference, saying that there were Highlander rules, and some critiques on Sean Connery's lack of an accent as the Spaniard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sean Connery is the actor who you hire him to be Sean Connery. It doesn't matter what country he's from. Hunt for Red October, right? Great movie, Tom Clancy. And yet he doesn't speak like a Russian. I didn't realize for a long time that he was supposed to be Russian in that film.
He's not.
But
he's supposed to be Sean Connery. So
yeah. I already mentioned I get hard protecting my family. I tell you what I really enjoy. I enjoy all of the sci-fi references that I know and love. Ex Machina, of course. The one I'm so happy that they said Westworld. I know they weren't talking about the original film by Michael Crichton, whatever. I know they're not talking about that film. They're talking about the HBO series. But man, any chance I can get to tell you guys to go watch Westworld, the original with Yul Brynner.
That's right.
Please.
You got me to watch it for an Apathetic Enthusiasm episode.
That's right. I might have gotten you to watch it for this one for Anatomy Park to at one point in time too.
Maybe. I don't know. It is possible.
Doesn't matter. Anyways, Westworld, Ex Machina, Blade Runner is in there. Highlander, of course.
So many great references.
So many great references. And Asimov. Let's talk about Isaac Asimov for a second, the godfather of robotics, with his 3 rules of robotics. But then it got into an Asimov cascade, which I don't know is a real thing.
I never really heard of it before. I assume it's real because
especially not Rule 34.
Yeah, I know. This gets into one of my favorite bits, which was Rick having a foldable whiteboard in the back of his ship, and Rick going to a whiteboard to try and explain this Asimov cascade. I will say I am that guy. I am that guy at work who's, when I'm trying to explain something, I'm like, hold on, let's find a whiteboard, and I draw everything out, even if it is unnecessary. So yeah, I love that Rick went to the whiteboard. I'm sure, at least in the minds of the story team, I know there's whiteboards usually all over the writer's room, and they workshop a lot of ideas on those whiteboards. So I like that they were able to bring that into the episode itself to help sort of explain what the heck was going on.
Yes. I love. We saw it in the snake episode, the snake jazz episode, that Rick. that Rick builds costumes. They made their own snake costumes in that episode, and now they make squid costumes and then Muppet costumes, and it's basically Rick cosplaying is canon. He's just very good at.
He's really into cosplay. It's official now. What I would love to see, if we could have conventions once again, hopefully we will soon, is I want to see Rick and Morty cosplays in these versions of Rick
Yes.
and Morty. So let's see the Scarecrow Rick and Morty. Let's see the Glockenspiel Smith family. Let's see the Muppet versions.
I'm
I'm
not.
for it.
You know, I'm not a cosplayer, Travis, but you know damn well that I would cosplay as Muppet Rick.
Yeah, I'll be Muppet Beth. I don't even care. Let's go.
All right, you heard it here first, Travis.
Yeah.
Muppet
If you see a Muppet Beth at a convention, it might be me. You never know. Come say hi.
There are a couple of Jerry was on top tier comments and jokes this episode. A couple things notable things that Jerry said. One, when he comes in walking about his lemon squares, they're gluten free. There's something else,
Sugar
and
free.
then they're also lemon free. He said lemon-free lemon squares. Right on to him.
Those are the stakes that those lemon squares won't rise. That's the real issue in this episode. Yeah.
And this one I didn't catch right away. It's a joke that like kind of slides by real quick when they're in the hotel room and it's when Rick tells them that they're decoys, and and Jerry says, well, then say ciao Bella to our deposit, which, if you don't speak that language, it means hello beautiful to our deposit.
So stupid. The low tech passwords, those were great. I didn't really notice them at first. It wasn't until Scary Terry Folds brought them up over on social media that I went back and listened the second time when I was watching. It's like, oh yeah, that's
8 == capital D.
yeah, that's an emote for a dong, and then boobs in
Yeah.
ASCII, I guess. Whatever.
8008135 boobies, right?
Yeah. The classic calculator gag from our childhood.
173170771. That's I love you if you hold it upside down. Look, I had a pager. I know how these things work.
He's a charmer. He's got it all figured out. 143 to you, Unity. What else? From the Pop-Tart box itself, Wenwolf. This really threw me because I even think I was like typing to you. I was like, wait a minute. Was this a huge ruse? Are we getting an interdimensional cable episode? And then they got away from it real quick, and I kind of just hit backspace a bunch of times and didn't send you the message. But I thought there was a good chance we were gonna get an interdimensional cable for a minute,
for like a half a second. Yeah, I went to sleep last night, and then this morning when I got up for work, it's like 5:30 in the morning, and I'm like shaving, combing my hair, and I'm like, Wenwolf, I've seen that before. I feel like I've seen that before. And then I said to you this morning, hey, was that on the sticky notes from Schrab and Harmon? And you're like, we have to go back and look. And I stopped all getting ready activities, like in the middle of like putting deodorant on, and I went through the Instagram, and sure enough, in one of Harmon's posts from way back at like in the middle of season 4, on one of the slides, it in big post-it letters, Wenwolf. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm like, oh no, now I'm going to go down the rabbit hole. Are there any other ones that are going to show up? I don't know. Keep an eye out.
Yeah.
For the Schrab stickies.
You really had to scroll back a while, because I'm currently scrolling through Harmon's Instagram, and yeah, it's way back there. It's way back there.
The last two ones I'll point out, all the different Ricks and Mortys and Beths and Summers, and also Summers. The creepy ass face Rick, the scarecrow Rick wearing the flesh, and here be monsters. Super creepy, and my family was like, when they first saw him. but the Gautier Rick, who's which one I'm talking about? In like the montage of all the Ricks killing each other, Gautier Rick is like on the pink wall, painted in pink, with his eyes closed, and then they open up.
Yeah, it's just like the outline of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also really liked, for lack of a better term, I'll call him Cookie Jar Rick. He was driving a convertible and then like flipped around, but then he like opened his head and pulled a gun out of his head. Like that one was pretty good. Yeah, lots of great ideas. Again, kudos to the character designers that just knocked it out of the park with so many great. Even just like Scarecrow Rick when he's got his like bad Rick mask on and he looks like a serial killer from a horror movie or something. Yeah,
he really likes flesh or whatever.
This guy really likes skin. Yeah, the skin's gotta be fresh.
We had our favorite bits of this episode, of course, over there on social media. Shout out to all the people who follow us on Twitter. Right, our goal is to get to 5,000 by the end of season 5. That would be fantastic.
It's out there. Go follow everybody.
Ferg Alicia Art mentions that she did. I'm assuming it's a she. I'm sorry. I shouldn't assume pronouns. But they write, I'm disappointed Nimbus wasn't a cameo, just Harmon. I think he's doing too many voices since last season. Didn't even try to create characters like he did on the first 2 seasons. Now they just all sound like him on his regular speech. Yeah, I mean that's fair. That's fair. You always know when it's Harmon.
Yeah,
he doesn't try to change it.
I mean, you think back to Flu Hating Rapper. That feels like an original.
Hey,
I'm
a Flu Hating Rapper.
But if you listen to Harmontown enough, you know that's Harmon spitting bars. But yeah, I think they are giving Harmon a lot more voice lines. I honestly wonder if this is a result of COVID, if they just weren't able to hire as many voice actors, or people didn't have the ability to do it. Because I mean, a lot of these episodes were written and animated and voiced from people's homes, so it may have just been the sake of
ease. Right?
Yeah, you know what, we need a Mr. Nimbus. Harmon, you wanna cover this one? I'm Mr. Nimbus. Yeah. So, but yeah, he could mix it up. He could try. But I don't know.
He sure could.
He does. He's been bringing the voices since season 1. So
that's right.
Already talked about Scary Terry Folds. Thinking that it's funny about Rick's passwords. He also wished us a happy analysis day. Trying to figure out what was going on in the episode so that we could bring this podcast to you.
Philip Marks, also a longtime listener, just saying loved it, broke my brain a little bit. Grant Ramos, just in case anyone was wondering, the song at the end of the last episode was Who Wants to Live Forever by Queen, which, as you know, is from, it's a Queen song, but also was from Highlander. So another little Highlander reference. And if you're wondering what we're talking about, at the very end where Jerry is going through his trying to live forever, is looking for the world beyond the river, after he got to get that varnish water protection.
That varnish.
Water protection, mind you.
Yep.
That's what's playing.
Yeah.
And then finally, Memes B 3. If Mindfuck was an episode, LMAO, it was hilarious. Overall, Travis, what after you rewatched it, what did you feel about the episode?
I feel a lot better about it, just in general, knowing what it is, knowing what to expect going in. My appreciation for it has grown. I think it will continue to do so as well as I go back and revisit this. From time to time, I'm sure we'll do like a season recap towards the end of the season. And yeah, I think it's a neat idea for an episode. I'm not sure I want lots of episodes that are just like a premise, a concept stretched out over 22 minutes. I'm a sucker for a story arc. What can I say? You've caught me with your story circle, Harmon. And yeah, so I like the episode, but I like it as a cool one-off sort of thing.
Yeah, I got you. You asked me before, is it a Morty Mindsblower of this season? I don't think it necessarily is. I think I mean, in the sense that it doesn't necessarily matter.
Sure,
I guess,
sure.
I guess it is.
And
But
like between this and like Vat of Acid, even Vat of Acid, I thought was terrific, but like that to me, I feel like it closed the loop on itself a little bit neater than this one did, but like it still like went in all kinds of crazy directions in that episode. So yeah, I don't know. It's a good episode. I don't know. I think you're really like sold on it. What is your thought?
yeah, no, I laughed a lot the first time I watched it. The 2 or 3 times that I watched it since, I still liked it a lot, and it is just such a dense episode, and there's so much stuff going on. It makes sense that there were folks out there that were a little confused by what was going on, and going back to Memesby, saying like the mind fuck thing. I know, like, going into it, like, what is going on here? But once you see the Rick and Morty at the end with Space Beth, then you're like, okay, that was all not a thing
Yeah.
that actually matters. But again, I think it's so cool and kind of clever. I'd say clever, cute, that we get insight into the characters still without having those characters say out loud, uh, "Yes, I love you, Beth. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
We know we don't have to kind of uh, go in there and extract our own thoughts of like, well, what are the animators trying to do? What is the tone they're trying to do? They tell us through the actions of the other decoys.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
So anyway, so I needless to say, I hated it. Worst episode.
Worst episode
Worse
of
than
the
Claw and
season.
Hoarders.
Jeez, terrible. No, that's our thoughts. That's our thoughts, and even some of your thoughts on the episode. But I'm sure Unity, you have many more thoughts, lots more thoughts. So share those with us. Go out to social media, share those at Rick and Morty Pod, Rick and Morty Podcast at gmail.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the episode, and then maybe, just maybe, even you will get a short out in this, our
Ooh.
final segment, listener suggestions and short outs. Brandon, what do you got?
Suggestions.
What did I say? Did I say suggestions?
You said suggestions.
They are clearly
No,
suggestions. Please,
it's
I'm getting rusty. Oh no.
it's much more Homestar Runner than it is a real thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why like a Coach Z. Suggestions.
One
I
two
think is what
one two.
we got an email from old Ranma. They have hit us up before talking about like trying to get us to review the comics and so we did a little bit, but they sent us an email titled "How Enemies Are Made," they say, I find it interesting that the episode could basically, and this is about episode 1 of season 5. I find it interesting that this episode could basically be considered a breakdown of how Rick's indifference to others causes him to have so many enemies, and consequently how Morty is gradually becoming just like him. Morty was fully aware of the time dilation, and if he had just denied Hoovy's offer of help, made sure he stayed on the other side of the portal, or didn't close it, none of it would have happened. Basically, all of this is the result of Morty not sparing a second to think about someone who helps him. You'll notice he never acknowledges this. It's always, I just want some wine. Why are you so angry? Even as he watches the centuries pass. I think that's a very good point by Ranma, because yeah, Morty is he's thankful, but it's juxtaposed with the Mr. Nimbus, this nemesis of Rick, who Rick and Nimbus had clearly had some kind of friendship in the past,
Yeah.
and resent has grown over the years, just as the resentment for Morty continues to grow over the centuries. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna give Morty a little bit of the benefit of the doubt with some of this, because I feel like he is hyper focused on trying to get that wine to Jessica. Like he is really focused on that, and I don't think he fully understood quite how much time passed in that Narnia dimension. Because even the second time he goes back and tries to talk to Hoovy again, and it's actually Hoovy's son, who is now an old ripped dude. He still calls him Hoovy because he was thinking it was Hoovy. So yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes Morty's just dumb, and we have to accept the fact that Morty isn't always gonna think it through because he is dumb.
Well, Travis, here's my counter argument to that. If your defense of Morty is that he was thinking about getting back to Jessica, all I have to say is bovines before hovines. You know what I'm saying?
That's the quality content that you get only on Interdimensional RSS. And a huge shout out to our brand new followers here on Twitch, Hobo Camp 1, Marcel, and Champion Cheddar. Thank you for following on Twitch, hanging out with us.
Champion Cheddar, like, is the name, is their first name Cheddar? Or is it like specific Cheddar?
It's a camel case username, no spaces. So I can't say for sure that it's 2 words. You know,
there's a Cheddar competition annually, and one Cheddar wins out.
Yeah.
And this person has the winning Cheddar.
Yeah, they're the champion of Cheddar. Cheddar champs.
No, they're not the champion of Cheddar. They're their Cheddar is the champion.
Okay.
All
right.
Like, you know, it's like on a leash, and it's like the Westminster Dog Show, but for like cheese. They just like drag it along.
Anyway, thanks for following on Twitch. Also over on YouTube, Ace in the Coal 99 and Jaden Detering. Thank you for subscribing on YouTube. Thanks to everybody that checked out the show on YouTube. If you're watching right now on YouTube, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. That's right. We're doing all the plugs. If you're listening on the audio format, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is, hit the like, hit the stars, hit the reviews, do all the things, and let us know that you enjoy the show. We appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with us. And we're gonna do it again next week with a brand new episode. Next week, Captain Planet homage happening.
He's a hero, gonna take pollution down to 0, gonna help them put us under. Bad guys who like to loot and plunder. I'll get you for this, Captain Planet. We're the Planeteers. You could be one too, because saving our planet is the thing to do. Looting and polluting is not the way. Here's what Captain Planet has to say. The power is yours.
The power is yours. The power is yours, Unity. Thank you guys so much for listening. Until next week, I'm Travis.
And I'm Brandon. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Such a 90s kid, or 80s kid.
I know so many theme songs from the 90s.
It's a gift and a curse.